he said, what a member of the legislature or the member of parliament can see, the citizen of India. He said, why are you worried about everything? So there is an override in the Act even today, which my friends know. With all the restrictions under Section 8, there is an override which says, notwithstanding anything, if a member of parliament or a member of the legislature can see those documents, I have the right to see the documents. There were big battles because the first draft of the Act was made by Justice Thomas, who happened to be the Press Council chairperson in 1996. The draft was sent out to the whole of India, all over the place. It was sent to members of parliament, to the prime minister, to chief ministers, everywhere, to all political parties. This document then became the basic draft. We call it the Press Council draft. The Act went through many drafts, but it laid the foundation of another history. It was the first legislation in this country which got the approval of a cross-section of society. It was not the poor persons alone, not the tribals alone, not the women alone, not the town people alone, not the villagers alone, not the this alone, or not that alone. It was not one linguistic group, it was not one religious group. Across the board, it went into every community of being, and it was debated hotly, it was changed many times, it was shrunk into extremely a particle shape by the previous government, not the first UPA, the government previous to that. They passed it under duress because the Supreme Court asked them questions. It was called the Freedom of Information Act in 2000. But they did not even set a date for notification. If you don't notify, the act doesn't come to being. Bureaucracy also plays its trick. They just did not put in a date for notification. When we went to the DOPT, they told us, no, England took, UK took 6 years or 4 years to notify that. You wait. So we have to wait for the whims and fancies of the bureaucracy to notify the act. So by the time the Right to Information Act was promised by the first UPA government, in a document called the National Common Minimum Program, we had been educated as to what we should not leave to the imagination of the politicians or the manipulation of our friends who are in the legislative and other bureaucracies. So we decided that every single thing that could be a block should be fought against. Every single clause was hotly debated. There were many people who came in, there were lawyers, there were civil servants. Civil servants, good civil servants, also joined this whole group. There were a motley group of people who argued. But eventually we all phoned in. The Maharashtra Act was an excellent act, the state acts were passed first. Then there was a huge debate as whether there should be a national act. Why can't the state act hold? Then we needed a national act. Then they said the national act comes, then the state act and national act will be a contradiction. Finally, we prevailed upon them with lots of arguments, and finally the national act came into being. But it also was the end of the road for accountability. The accountability that began with the chief minister of Rajasthan ended with the UPA government in 2005. That if you make a political promise, you have to stand by it. So in the National Common Minimum Program, that they promised us the Right to Information Act and set up the National Advisory Council to monitor the implementation of the Right to Information Act. They invited me to be a member of the NAC, and I was very doubt as to whether I should go at all. I've become too used to saying what I think, and I can't put a tag on my mouth anymore. I never did actually. So it was very difficult. One of the reasons why I left the IA is because they always told you can't do this, can't do that, can't say this. This is the truth, but you must not say it in front of so and so. You write something on the note file, you can't mention it if your boss overrides what you say. So too many things. So somewhere I always had feelings of guilt. I may be wrong, but I am attacked according to my conscience. And that is the most important thing for me in my life. Rati said I sacrificed the IA. By staying there, I would have done a great sacrifice. I was free bird. And for some of us, I think the understanding of what makes us move is more important than what comfort in your person is. As one of my batchmates said, when I met him 4 years ago, when my entire batch retired, graduated, they said, one of them said, poor Aruna, she sacrificed comfort and she lived this tough life. And my batchmate said, don't be funny, she has given up economic comfort for mental comfort. And that is no sacrifice. So I really do think I have had a very good life. I have no regrets at all. Not about leaving the IS, not even about getting into the IS. Because the 7 years has always, everything teaches you something, and I learned something in those 7 years. So in the National Advisory Council, we had a battle, as always there are, between people who thought it was giving too much to people, too little to people, too much is always what you do. The DOPD had a huge restriction and reservation about giving us the right to see file notice. So when the file went to the Government of India, they removed the 2 words file notice and sent it